The Arctic didn't forgive mistakes. It didn't shout, it whispered. Through wind, through ice, through silence. And that morning, when Captain Elena Ward woke to static on the radio, she knew something wasn't right. Outpost Vega was little more than a cluster of steel huts buried in endless white. The nearest base was 200 kilometers south. Beyond that, nothing but snow, wind, and sky. She had been stationed there for 5 months, long enough to know when silence meant danger. Then, at 5:42, a sound broke through. A faint voice, chopped by static. Mayday. Blackbird 2. Engine down. Coordinates. Then nothing. Elena froze. The voice had been American, and desperate. She turned to her comms operator. Playback. He hit rewind, listened, then nodded grimly. That's a downed aircraft signal. But ma'am, it's coming from North Sector. The ridge. The ridge was death. Temperatures there dropped below -50. Even satellite contact failed half the time. Her second-in-command, Sergeant Cole, spoke up. Captain, we send a drone. Wait for better weather. Elena looked at the flickering radar. The signal pulse was fading. If we wait, we'll find bodies. Prep the snowcat. By 6:30, the wind was screaming like a living thing. The sun hadn't risen. It wouldn't for hours. Her convoy consisted of 1 vehicle. Herself, Cole, and Private Anders running comms. They drove into the whiteout. Visibility, 10 meters. Navigation, guesswork. Cole's knuckles were white on the wheel. This is suicide, Captain. Elena didn't look away from the horizon. Not if we find them first. They moved like ghosts across the tundra. The snowcat's treads groaned under the weight of ice. Every few minutes she checked the radar. Each time, the blip weaker. After an hour, the radio gave a final hiss and died. Anders frowned. No signal, ma'am. We're blind. Elena stared out the window. Then we keep driving toward where it was. At 8:15, the engine coughed. The temperature gauge hit red. They stopped. Outside, the storm had swallowed the world. Nothing but white in every direction. We're not gonna make it much further, Cole warned. Elena zipped up her parka, grabbed her flare gun. Then I'll go on foot. He grabbed her arm. Captain, that's 80 clicks of nothing. She looked him dead in the eyes. I've seen worse. Keep the heater on. If I'm not back in 2 hours, head south. And before he could argue, she stepped into the storm. Every step felt like walking through water. The wind tore at her face, freezing her eyelashes together. Her boots sank knee-deep in snow. The world around her had no sound, no direction, only blinding white. She used her compass, though even the needle trembled from the cold. Then, a shadow. Far ahead, angular, metallic. She squinted, stumbled forward. And there it was. The crashed aircraft. The tail was sheared off. Smoke drifted weakly from the engine, quickly turning to ice. She climbed up the frozen wing, boots slipping on slick metal, and kicked open the hatch. Inside, silence. 3 seats, 2 empty, 1 still occupied. The pilot's helmet was cracked, visor iced over. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Faint pulse. Alive. Hang in there, she whispered. She pulled him free, his body stiff as stone. They fell into the snow together. Command, this is Vega Unit. I have a survivor, she said into her radio. Only static answered. Her lips tightened. Okay then. Just us. She dragged him back into the wreck and began working fast. She sealed the open hatch with cargo panels, layered torn insulation over him. Her gloves froze stiff, but she didn't stop. The wind howled against the metal hull, trying to crush it. Inside, her breath fogged into tiny clouds. The pilot shivered uncontrollably. Signs of deep hypothermia. Elena opened her pack. 1 emergency blanket, 1 heat pack. Not enough. She took off her parka, wrapped it around him, and pressed close to share body heat. Minutes turned into hours. Her heartbeat slowed. Her hands went numb. When she opened her eyes again, it was dark. Night had fallen. She checked his pulse again, still there. Weak. She smiled faintly, lips cracked and bleeding. Good. You're not quitting on me. Then, a new sound. a faint mechanical whir. She crawled outside, snow blinding her, scanning the horizon. Nothing, just wind. But when she looked up, a gap in the storm clouds revealed a faint northern light glowing green across the sky. She took out the flare gun. One shot, one chance. She waited until the aurora's light peaked and fired. The flare streaked across the sky, red against green, burning like hope itself. 2 hours later, she was fading. Her eyes refused to stay open. Her breath came shallow. Then, through the storm's scream, a new sound. Helicopter rotors. She forced her body to move, crawled outside. The snow stung her face, but she lifted her arm, waving her last flare in the air. "Here! Over here!" The helicopter descended, searchlight sweeping across the white. A medic jumped out, shouting orders. "She's alive!" 2 survivors. They lifted the pilot first, then her. As they strapped her in, one rescuer looked at her in disbelief. "You came out here alone?" She smiled weakly, eyelids fluttering. "I wasn't." He frowned. "Who else?" She nodded toward the unconscious pilot. "Him. He never stopped fighting either." She woke 2 days later in a medical bay. Fingers bandaged. Frostbite on her cheeks. Outside, snow still fell. The commander entered, expression unreadable. "You went alone into a Class 5 storm," he said quietly. "Yes, sir." "You broke protocol." "Yes, sir." He paused, eyes softening. "And you saved a man's life. That's above protocol." He placed a single silver pin on her bedside table. Not a medal, not an award, just a small engraved badge. For persistence beyond orders. She stared at it for a long time. Weeks later, the pilot came to see her. He still looked pale, his arm in a sling. "You could have died out there," he said. "So could you," she replied with a small smile. He handed her something wrapped in cloth. She opened it. His cracked visor, polished, engraved with a single line. "You were the signal that saved me." She didn't speak for a long moment, then whispered, "No. You were the reason I kept moving." He nodded. The room went quiet. Outside, the snow fell softly. The wind whispered over the ice, as if the world itself exhaled. And for the first time in months, Elena Ward allowed herself to rest. Not because the storm had ended, but because she had learned how to walk through it.